Welcome everybody to the Mr. Boxing Guru podcast. It is me, Sal, Mr. Boxing Guru. Guys, I wanted to say thank you so much for you guys that have downloaded episode 1 and episode 2, or mini episode 2. And of course, this is episode 3 of the Mr. Boxing Guru podcast. Look at me, man. I'm over here sounding like Kodo talking in the third person. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening to what we had to say last Thursday, I believe, did the first one. Um, Again, we had a busy weekend this week. Last Thursday, we talked about what was going to happen over the weekend. And of course, today we'll go ahead and recap what we saw. And in my opinion, we saw a pretty good version of Manny Pacquiao beating Adrian Broner over 12 rounds. Now, what did we actually see? Back on Thursday, I said, what are we going to see from Manny Pacquiao? Are we going to see Manny Pacquiao knock out Broner, or are we going to see him cruise through his decisions like he's done in the last couple of years, with the exception of the Lucas Matisse fight? So this fight was a pretty good measuring stick. At least we knew what we were kind of getting into. What Matisse had in him, or was it a fluke, or was Manny Pacquiao back to being a badass? Look, I don't want to take anything away from Manny Pacquiao because he deserves all the accolades in the world. We all know he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, but Manny Pacquiao did show his age. He is 40 years old, but who at 40 does not want to be or look the way Manny Pacquiao looked? Look, guys, I think Manny looked great. I think he did. He had the easy work with Adrian Broner. Adrian Broner, like we all know, he's a four-time world champion, but versus whom? Who did Adrian Broner really fight? And yes, I get it. He's a durable guy. You know, he went all rounds with Mikey Garcia. And you know he's fought. Who else did he fight? He just has a bunch of fights now. um, but the fact of the matter is that really Broner brought nothing to the table but a big mouth. That's what sold the fight. We know Broner's just fun outside of the ring, and he's a very fun character to entertain you. You know, he's a racist son of a bitch, but behind closed doors, honestly, who's not? Um, but that's what Broner brought to the table. And the fact that what still trips me out, even today, the fact that he even thought he had one. I mean, the guy landed what, maybe 40 punch the whole fight. Was connecting maybe about what, eight punches around, and he expects to win that fight. I'm not sure if Broner believed that he won the fight, or he was just trying to bullshit his way, get, kind of redeem himself for what he did. I think at some point in the fight, he felt Manny Pacquiao's power, and he decided to kind of back off. Especially when I believe it was like what was it, like seventh, eighth round, when Manny just unloaded on the kid, and Broner really went on. He really got defensive. So you stopped trading, you stopped trying to. I don't know. I'm not sure what Broner's game plan really was. Was it to try to catch him like Marquez caught him? I mean, is that the way people try to catch Manny now? Manny, say what you want, but he has a little subtle defense, especially for a guy that's been an aggressive, fast, wild guy like he's always been. But he has subtle defense that he knows how to stay himself out of trouble. Um, I guess you did see him lunge at a couple of times, lunge with his punches, but nonetheless he was ducking his head and kind of going around whatever Broner had to do. He did play safe, I guess, for the most part as well, but nonetheless it was a good performance by Pacquiao. Now we, I guess this fight served as a measuring stick. So what's next for Pacquiao? Even though it's a faded version of Manny Pacquiao still there to compete with any of the top welterweights. There's only like 3, 4 of them that I would say, you know what, maybe not, and that would be Spence. Um, who else? Uh, Crawford. Maybe avoid a guy like Crawford. Um, the rest, they're good to go. I mean, I would love to see a fight eventually, because this was a measuring stick, I guess you could say, with Mikey Garcia, just because styles make fights. They're about the same height, so I think it'll be a very interesting fight, especially now that Mikey Garcia is at 147. Regardless of what happens in his fight versus Spence, that's a fight that I always wanted to see. And maybe if Manny loses to Mikey, there's some sort of redemption for Robert Garcia because every time he's gone against Manny Pacquiao, he falls short. I mean, he went at it with Margarito, which is Margarito was Margarito. I mean, there's not much you can fix in him. Um, with Brandon Rios as well. I believe he trained somebody else for him. I'm not necessarily sure though. But maybe that's a good measuring stick. I think him fighting Keith Thurman would be a great fight too. Again, anything below, I'm sorry, Errol Spence and Crawford, I think it's good. That's why, in a way, I do think it's a good idea that he went towards a PBC way, just because I think he could get the most money and not only the most money, but he could actually fight. And that's the thing. A lot of these PBC guys don't really do. They really don't fight, and that's why maybe guys like Manny Pacquiao and Mikey Garcia are good for PBC because they're not scared to fight these bigger names. They're actually going to get in there and fight. But yeah, so as far as Manny Pacquiao, any of the top welterweights to do, I think, like I said, Keith Thurman, the Josesito Lopes that they have. I mean, anybody that they have. Sean Porter will be a good fight because Sean Porter will be there for the fighting. I mean, he's going to try to maul Manny, and then Manny can catch him coming in. Any of those fights are good fights, so that I would love to see. Now, I know Showtime's pushing for the Mayweather fight, but I don't think this version of Manny even Mayweather will want. I mean, it didn't entice him. He didn't look as impressive. And again, I'm not knocking on Manny Pacquiao because anybody at 40 years old that looks as good as Manny is is good enough for me, But to make a super fight with Floyd Mayweather, I don't think his body reacted in a way where he looks explosive enough to bring him out of retirement. And not only that, thank God. I mean, who wants to see that again? But nonetheless, that's what happened on that main event. Broner didn't get robbed. Broner robbed everybody. So if you guys streamed the fight, good for you, man. In that undercard, we had, what do we have? Marcus Brown actually won versus Badu Jack. Man, that cut was bad. And man, you know what? This fight, because I get it. You want your fighter to go. It's for a quote unquote belt. But I get that. But let your fighter be in the right place if you want to have him go all 12 rounds. There was absolutely nothing Badu could have done or had done to be in that fight. Before that nasty gash that made him look like a freaking piggy bank, Badu Jack had done absolutely nothing in the fight. His timing was all bad. It wasn't a fight that he was winning. It was a fight that I wouldn't want him to continue. So why did his corner allow this? Why didn't they didn't just stop this fight? This was an unnecessary, just bloodbath. There was no reason for Tony Week's shirt to be the way it was. Stop it as 2 rounds into it. After the cut, I would have been okay with it. There was nothing, again, that Badu Jack had shown me, even before the cut, that could say, okay, he deserves the fighter chance. He has a punch. He has an equalizer. He's going to knock this guy out. No, on the contrary. Marcus Brown was a badass, again, and it shows that you do not need to be it's okay to be super skilled, but still entertaining. Marcus Brown was a hell of a fighter in there, and he deserves all the accolades in the world. But Badu Jack's folks, man, and even the commission, should have stopped this fight. It wasn't really worth it. It wasn't worth the bloodbath. It's horrible. But that's what we have to say about this fight. The other fight that was a bit interesting too, which I guess it had a little twist to the story, versus Nordine what's his name? Aubali. Okay, so Nordine Aubali. Let me see. You know what? I'm not even going to edit that. Nordine Aubali actually beat Rashid Warren. it had a little twist because that was they fought in the Olympics, and of course Nordine actually beat Rashid. Uh, I thought he was gonna do. I thought he was gonna do much better. I thought Rashid, being the, I guess you could say, seasoned pro, and gone through the ranks in the U.S., was gonna be able to put in some work and some solid work in there, but that didn't turn out the case. And you know what, Nordine, I actually want to see him now. I was like, he's a great little bantamweight, and he's built like a little truck. So I'm really interested in seeing what he has. So Rashid, man, I don't know, man. I've had real high hopes on him. There's only so much he could do being so small too. The power isn't there. I mean, it almost seems like he should be a career amateur fighter. I mean, he's a great fighter, but he can only do so much. Um, so that's as far as Saturday night's fight. That's it. Let's take it to Friday, because Friday, again, we talked about it on Thursday's podcast. It was very interesting, very fun. But we had fights on ESPN Plus. We had fights on the Zone. Personally, I'll tell you guys straight out, I was not gonna. I watched the. I watched a bit of the ESPN one because I did wanted to see the co-main event. But what I really wanted to see was the Zone fight. And that was the co-main event, not even the main event on the Zone fight. I wanted to see the Pablo Cano fight. And Pablo Cano actually pulled out the upset versus the three-time former world champion, Jorge Linares. It didn't even take him a full round. I think it was, what, 248 or something like that? That, you see, that fight shows you, and we talked about it on Thursday, that you cannot put Linares versus a C-level Mexican, because that C-level Mexican is going to put hands on him, is going to hit him some way, shape, or form, but it's going to hurt Linares. And that's exactly what happened. Um, Look, going into the fight, I think if you would ask most people, of course, people weren't even thinking, oh, this is going to be a tough fight for Linares. No, you thought, you heard Cano lost against Malinaji, Cano lost against Mosley, Cano lost against, I mean, pretty much against every name opponent that he has fought. But the difference is, how did he lose? And that was very key. Pablo Cesar Cano is a hell of a fighter. Yes, he gets cut just like Linares, but he's a hell of a fighter, and at his own natural weight at 140 pounds. He put on a hell of a performance versus Linares. Hit him once, and sas, ahí chingó a su ma. It was nice, fun, and effective. So now, what's pissing me off, I guess you could say, is that people are saying, "Oh yeah, Loma ruined Linares, man. He hasn't been the same ever since." Really? I mean, to a certain extent, he was already this way. I mean, he's always been very chinny. If a certain fighter hits him in the mouth, he's gonna fold. So there was no. It was. You can't say that Loma did that. On the contrary, I think he gave Loma a hell of a fight. So what does that really show you about Loma? Yes, I get it. Loma's a great fighter and whatnot, but shows you what version of a fighter that he really fought. Linares has always been chinny. He's always been vulnerable. So I don't know, man. To me, again, I'm not. It's not that I'm happy that Linares lost. I'm just happy that we got an upset. Every time there's an upset, whether it's your guy or not, you gotta love it. That means nothing is guaranteed in boxing. So that was my fight of the weekend, guys. To be honest, I had, again, all 2 minutes and 48 seconds of it. I enjoyed the shit out of it. On the main event, if you did take my advice and just went about your business on a Friday night, I told everybody to avoid this fight. Hope a lot of you guys did, because Demetrius Andrade boo-booed his way into a stoppage, and a manufactured stoppage of Arthur Akavov. Look, Arthur was looking for the fight all night, and I get it. Demetrius is one of those fighters that is, very skilled fighter. And I asked this question on Twitter. He's very skilled. I really get it, but I mean, are you really entertained? Are we gonna waste our time giving him prime real estate? Are we gonna put him in a main event? And why? I mean, is that what the zone really wants? Look, a fighter has to fight. I get it. Put him as maybe the second or third fight in. Great, do that. But if you're using Boo Boo Andrade as a main event, people are gonna be turned off. Like this fight, this little gem that we got with Linares and Cano. Some people didn't even know about it because you're promoting Boo Boo so much, and that kind of detracts from the card. So if you tell me, oh, Boo Boo's the main event, it's fight night, good for you, man. I'm good. I'm gonna go do something else. I'm gonna go eat some fucking torta somewhere or whatnot. I'm not gonna stay at home to watch him. I could watch the highlights later and know that he fought himself into a great decision. Now, what happened on Friday is that, in my opinion, Arthur deserved the benefit of going the rounds with Andrade. Um, they took that from him. At least that's the least you give him. I get it if he's getting beat up, he's just getting schooled out there, but that's not what happened. On the contrary, yeah, he was in the fight. He was putting pressure on him, but he wasn't getting his head blocked off, kicked off. And that's why I wish we would have seen a little more. At least let him finish because it was the 12th round, if I'm not mistaken, when the stoppage happened. So I would have loved to see just a little more of that. Let's see, and I believe that was it for this weekend's fights. Now this weekend, on the other hand, we have two fights. If I'm not mistaken, it's on Saturday. One of them is Golden Boy Fight Night on the Zone, which is gonna be interesting because if you're in Texas, make sure you get to go out there. I know a lot of the fighters from Golden Boy Stable are gonna be out there. My Virgil Ortiz. If you guys had never watched Virgil Ortiz, watch his come up, man. That kid is special. He of course is fighting the infamous TBA. Always comes to fight. I think most of the guys, from what I saw on ESPN, are fighting those TBAs. So I'm not sure what's going on there. But the main event is this interesting kid in Jaime Munguia versus Takashi Inoue. Takashi, ¿sabe cómo se llama el cabrón? But it's for 154 middleweight, junior middleweight title. Now, Munguia is a kid that most of us should really pay attention, man. Seems like a dog. Every time I see these videos of folks putting out there of him, just seems like a freaking dog. And he's young. He's a champion already. So when you're a champion, you can't really retract and take, I guess, the easier fights. You either have to take those mandatory, or I'm sure there's an occasional fight of your choice that you could take, and this is what this seems uh, with Takashi. And now, do I treat him like a champ? Absolutely not. He might have a belt around his waist, but I know there's a lot of development that needs to be done. I want to see him a lot work a lot because we all know there's a lot of monsters at 154. You got version of the Charlo, two-headed monster. There's Herd and whatnot. So there's a lot of good fights out there, but not yet. I want to see him develop again. Just because he has a strap around his waist doesn't really mean he's the man at that weight. Um, so with time, I think two or three more years, we're gonna see a lot of good stuff from him, and just the size that he has, because the kid looks like he's about, at least 6 foot tall. To be at 154, that means this kid has to move, has to be walking around that ring at maybe about 168. So right under 170 pounds. So, and the kid moves, he moves well. He has a lot of power. It's just a matter of getting his boxing skills just a little more refined before you're ready to throw him out to the monsters. But again, not yet. If you are in Texas, or you already downloaded the Zone, make sure you watch this fight. It's going to be really entertaining. As far as the PBC actually has a fun card that I think a lot of us are sleeping on, and that is I think it's from New York City on Fox Sports 1. Josesito Lopez takes on Keith Thurman. Keith fight once a year, Thurman, for the WBA welterweight title. Now this fight is a bit interesting because I think with Robert, of course, Josesito trains under Robert Garcia now. Shout out to Henry Ramirez. But somehow Robert takes these underdogs and makes makes it a dogfight, whoever they're fighting against. Josesito Lopez, in my opinion, is no slouch. Um, there's that advantage that I think he could take advantage of, which is him fighting Keith Thurman. And the reason why I say it is because one, Keith, we know Keith been inactive for what, almost 2 years or 2 years plus. Josecito, again, from what I've been hearing, he's a dog in the gym. He's a monster. He's holding his own against a lot of these young prospects that are training and off of RGBA there in Riverside. I think if you're a betting man and if you're willing to put some money on, I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea to go for Josecito Lopez. Now, I get it. Most of you guys are saying, but is this the same Josecito that got beat up by Canelo in a couple of rounds by a bigger? So Canelo being the bigger guy, yes, and Canelo was just a baby. But Keith Thurman, in my opinion, has not been the same ever since the Soto Caras fight. He was always one of those monsters that came in and just took care of business. He hasn't done that ever since that Soto. Yes, he beat Soto, but something happened when Soto caught him and he hasn't been the same. So, in my opinion, if Josito's able to get to the body on this fight, we might have an upset. Again, it's a long shot. It's a really long shot, but I definitely think it's an option. Um, Guys, again, another short one. It's what, 20 minutes, 20 minutes plus. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Please share with your friends, share with your family, make your dad listen to it in the car, share with your deals, put it at work. Just make sure you guys share this. That way I continue to do them. Thank you so much for the support. The last two episodes have been a lot of fun. Nice and short. They're going to get longer, once I start bringing folks in. But nonetheless, right now it's very short, tight, and to the point. With that said, thank you for listening to the Mr. Boxing Guru podcast. Thank you guys so much. Have